on that lead. A second lead came up. On the 19th of June 2012, forensic analysis of late Olaitan's BlackBerry, stolen by the hoodlums, led the detectives to Gire in Adamawa State, from where the telephone was recovered and later identified by the wife of the deceased in Benin. The Gire operation led to chains of arrests in Benin City, from which facts about the robbery incident and murder of late Olaitan Oyerinde was revealed. Findings. I want to state categorically, Chairman, sir, that the gang that robbed Olaitan's family and killed Olaitan comprised of Danjuma Musa, Muritala Usman, Afta Umoru, Moses Asama Okoro alias Moses Auchi. The details will be given by the investigating officer. The suspect confessed to the crime, and apart from the recovered BlackBerry that triggered their arrest, a face cap which the third suspect wore during the robbery operation was recovered by the police and identified by the suspect. Other suspects involved in the case as receivers of items stolen from the Oyerindes include Garba Osman Maisamari, Hassan Babate Aliu, Bashir Hassan, and Abakar. The last two were among the suspects taken over from the SSS. One David Ugolor was alleged and identified by one of the suspects as the mastermind of the crime. And he was, after investigation, charged along with other suspects, but based on the advice of DPP, he was released. Investigation of 7 suspects. I am just giving an overview. The details will be given by the investigating police officer. Investigation of the 7 suspects taken over from the DSS. The 7 suspects handed over to the police by the DSS are Mohamed Ibrahim Abdullahi, Raymond Onajite Origbo, Ede Chikeze, Said Yakubu, Sani Abdullahi Abakar, Lawal Abakar, Bashir Hassan. They were handed over with some exhibits purportedly recovered from the suspects and notes on each of them. The suspects were diligently reinvestigated since there was no case file transferred from the DSS. Findings on that investigation. Summary of it is only 2 of the suspects handed over, namely Bashir Hassan and Lawal Abakar, were connected with the case of Olaitan Oyerinde as receiver of some of the items stolen from the family, particularly a BlackBerry belonging to Mrs. Funke Oyerinde. Investigation revealed that 3 of the suspects handed over to the police by the DSS, namely Mohamed Ibrahim Abdullahi, Raymond Onajite Origbo, and Ede Chikeze, belonged to a 6-man gang of robbers, rapists, who terrorized residents in Benin City. The other 3 members of the gang who are still at large include Isiaka, Sani, and Ali alias Mali. Isiaka is alleged to be the armorer of the gang. On allegations against my person, the DCP, who was in charge of the investigation, and the police force, I want to unequivocally deny that the allegations are diversionary, not true, and unfounded. The investigation team will give detailed explanations on this aspect. There is no doubt that the Nigerian police is the primary organ constitutionally charged with the investigation of criminal cases in Nigeria and a strong link in the criminal justice system. However, the crucial roles of the Minister of Justice and the judiciary in the dispensation of justice is equally well known by all meaning citizens. Advice of Minister of Justice are sought and obtained in all capital and serious crimes, and their vetting and advice determines whether or not crime facie case has been established against the suspects. The Justice Ministry in such cases drafts the charges and takes over the prosecution from the police. Criminal cases are not for individuals to serve as investigators, prosecutor, and judge roll into one. Investigation of murder cases is not a tea party or conducted on the platform of rhetoric and sentiments. The case file in Olaitan's case was forwarded to the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, and the Federal DPP gave advice, which proceeds a prima facie case of conspiracy and armed robbery that led to the death of Olaitan against the gang of 4 arrested by the police. The Edo State DPP also took over the duplicate case file from the magistrate in Benin City, where the police arraigned the suspect and gave legal advice on pages of newspaper. The State DPP, despite its hostility, opined that a prima facie case of conspiracy to commit armed robbery, and murder has been established against the suspects arrested by the police, why then the hue and cry about, or the insinuation that the murderers of late Olaitan Oyerinde are not known? I submit, Honorable Chairman, that DCP Chris Ezike, the police officer involved in investigation of this case, were fully dedicated and committed to unravel the murderers of Olaitan Oyerinde, and they conducted investigations into the case with high sense of responsibility and professionalism, even at great risk of their persons and families. However, in spite of positive developments and commendable efforts of the police, it is most unfortunate that the petitioners and their sponsors have found the police guilty of criminal connivance with murderers and denial of justice while taking advantage of their privileged positions to wage scandalous media war against my person, DCP Ezike, and the Nigerian police force. I respect the sanctity of life, and my team and the police are fully committed to ensuring that the killers of Olaitan Oyerinde are brought to justice. Finally, I would like this honorable committee to place it on record that the allegations by the petitioners and their sponsors have denigrated the police institution, damaged my hard-earned integrity, impugned my character, and put the lives of my family members and that of DCP Ezike in imminent danger and jeopardy. While I give this honorable committee the assurance of our full cooperation in your investigation, may I have your permission to fully introduce to the officer I picked to lead the investigation team, since the master borders on integrity. DCP Chris Ezike is a product of University of Nsukka. He graduated with BSc. All right. You are adopted.
So you consider this part of your case?
It borders on integrity.
If it's part of your case, go ahead and present it.
Thank you, sir. DCP Chris Ezike holds BSc in Psychology, second class upper division, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. He holds MSc in Public Administration, Ezike University. Fellow of Nigerian Institute of Public Administrations, alumnus of National Defense University, Washington, D.C. He lectured in Police Academy, Kano, attended several professional and command courses, best all-round cadet ASP course 13, 1984, and ex-student Union President, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, 1981-82. I want to give chance for him to explain to this committee the full details of police investigation. Thank you.
You're welcome. Honorable colleagues, I hope you have all noted your questions. We'll now invite the last presenter, DC.
I appreciate your presence. Mr. Chairman, honorable members, this investigation or this presentation has to do with the integrity of police investigation that has been qualified in terms like shoddy, lopsided, bungled, and so on. It is therefore very, very important that the side of the police is heard, not because we are statutorily empowered to carry out criminal investigation, but because too, the issues of national security are involved. I will, by way of opening statements, say that the allegations of the petitioners are unfounded, false, misleading, diversionary, and do not represent the true facts of police investigation into the conspiracy, armed robbery, and murder of Comrade Olaitan Oyerinde, investigated by the police, which has been charged to court. We arrived Benin on the same 4th Olaitan Oyerinde was murdered by 11 p.m. led by the DIG. The Lagos team of forensics met us, and then the pathologist was in Benin. The next day, the 5th, we visited the scene, Olaitan's house at number 65 2nd Ubo Road in GRA, Benin City. The CP Edo, retired CP Olainka Balogu, and his team joined us to the scene. When we arrived at the scene, When we arrived at the scene, we inspected the scene, saw the entry point, saw the places where shots were fired, entered the bedroom, and saw shots from different directions. We also recovered some exhibits in the process of that visit, at the end of which all the principal stakeholders, because it was a large team of over 35 detectives, everybody importing his specialty into the assignment, we went back, sat, and strategized. What are we supposed to do? One, the forensic people from Lagos were asked to collect forensic information, collect prints, because you can see prints, take photographs of the scene, and then go and do crime scene classification. We immediately established 3 dedicated telephone lines so that we can stimulate public cooperation through volunteering of information. Again, His Excellency the Comrade Governor graciously announced a donation of 10 million naira for anybody who is going to give information regarding a breakthrough. This was widely announced, you know. Then we went to identify and profile the items that have been taken from the scene. Because, like the DIG said, investigations of this magnitude, you are only at your best when you take it from the scene to the suspect. If you take it from the suspect to the scene, you may be doing mass arrest, and when you come back, you begin to sift the wheat from the chaff. But if you take it from the scene, if a particular thing is stolen, and you're able to trace that thing to a particular person, it makes the reconstruction very easy. So it was very necessary that the items removed from the scene must have to be classified, and that we did. Now, we tried, immediately after doing that, to begin raid of criminal hideouts. Because at the end of this type of crime, when this type of crime is committed, it is possible that the people who committed it are hanging out in spots that are enjoyment spots. So we commissioned a raid of criminal hideouts. We came back and strategized. How do we move from the known to the unknown? What are the issues that have come to the front burner? One, we discovered that late Olaitan had a very serious problem with his landlord. Rents have not been paid, and they were in court. In that process, he has even written what you can call petition to both the chief of staff and the secretary to the government of Edo State. And in that petition, some words, some bad blood, you can see that there was no love between the two families. We needed to get the landlord to look at, in fact, when you interview the family, you will see where their emotions are. It might be, it might not be. And in investigation of this nature, you don't foreclose anything. Secondly, we were looking at the issue of political assassination. Before we came into Benin, already in the pages of newspapers, there have been accusations and counter accusations by political parties, the ACN, the PDP, this happened, this did not happen, and all that. So we needed to look at that. Very twin to this development is the issue of the fatal accident that involved the governor's convoy. This happened on the 28th of April, while Olaitan was murdered on the 4th of May. So you can see the close range. So we also needed to look at that investigation to see whether we could be able to establish a nexus between the fatal accident case and the death of Olaitan. Then thirdly, we needed to look at armed robbery as a motive. we looked at this because the deceased and Reverend David Ugolor went out on a social outing that night with some guests, and when they finished from the drinking spot, they ended up in a hotel. We needed to get the CCTV footage of that hotel to see when they entered, when they left, and to appreciate that circumstance within the hotel to see whether they may have been followed from there. And we got that CCTV footage and we looked at it holistically. Then, fourthly, we also looked at the Nigerian Labour Congress, because as at the time this thing happened, John, if I call it wrongly, Order or so, was the Secretary General and has been on either suspension or so. And it was rumored, in fact, David Ugolor stated in writing that before Olaitan died, he was to resume at the National Secretariat as acting secretary. So we were also looking at that angle to see whether the expected takeover was midwifed in cordiality or in acrimony. Investigation must forever remain open, because you can never say where the lead will come to. Having done this, we now went to the fatal accident case to see what nexus we will be able to establish between the fatal accident case and the death of Olaitan. We called for the file from the CP. The CP informed us that that matter was already being handled by a joint committee headed by an assistant director in the State Security Service, but that a DSP and one inspector was attached to them, that they were handling it. We discussed and felt, because of the nature of what happened, the State Security Service can come in, but on the prima facie level, this remains a fatal accident case within the purview of the Nigeria Police Force. Two, to be able to give a shot to the Olaitan issue, we needed to know whether it has any connection with the fatal accident case. So we wrote a letter to the State Director of Security Services in Benin, and that letter is the letter I will call document 1 in that collection of 16 documents. On the strength of that letter, the case file was transferred on the 10th of May. The case file was transferred on the 10th of May with a preliminary investigation report. The investigation report was already written, a preliminary investigation report. Highlight of the investigation, and I quote, was that the accident was, quote, caused by the driver's overspeeding, negligence stroke recklessness. That after a painstaking investigation, it is clear that the driver, John Michael, and Aho Awen, the conductor, were not sponsored from any quarters, either to kill the governor or attack his convoy, because there was no established evidence linking them with any sponsor. I just quoted from the report of that joint committee. We didn't stop there. We reinvestigated the matter. At the end of our reinvestigation, we came to the same conclusion, but slightly. One, we found that that vehicle, the tipper that rammed into His Excellency's convoy, has had the roadworthiness certificate expired since 2007. So we looked at the motive, and we felt that if the owner of a vehicle and the driver can be operating a vehicle, knowing fully well that that vehicle is not supposed to be on the road, from 2007 till the date the accident happened, we felt that they should go in for conspiracy and murder and not manslaughter. Secondly, we felt that the conductor has not committed any offense, because two people don't drive the vehicle. The conductor was sitting on the passenger side while the driver was doing the driving. So we recommended charge for both the driver and the owner of the vehicle, as against what the SSS, the joint report recommended for the driver and the conductor. We forwarded our report to the Police High Command, and they reviewed our report. That report is document 2 in that appendix 3. They reviewed our report and approved our recommendations that the driver and the owner of the vehicle be charged to court. We now inform the CP Edo, inform the government of Edo State that we are going to court. He informed the Honorable Attorney General, who called me on phone and pleaded that instead of going to court on the 27th of June, which was the date we've slated for court, that he would want us to meet in his office on that 27th of June to be able to discuss the matter before we go to court. I obliged him straight away. I called my bosses in Abuja and they say oblige, and we obliged him. That meeting held on the Mr. Chairman, can I go on? Yes, go on. That meeting held on the 27th in the Attorney General chambers. Present and presided over was the Honorable Attorney General of Edo State, Barrister C. Ozua, Assistant Director Civil Litigations, Barrister M.O. Oyerinde, I hope I'm pronouncing these things correctly. He represented the DPP because the DPP was said to be indisposed. Then led the NUA of the legal department of the police in Edo, myself and one ASP Jolubo. We discussed this matter very exhaustively. They asked all the questions they needed to ask. As a matter of fact, there was argument between the civil litigations department and the public prosecutions department on whether manslaughter or murder was appropriate. At the end of the day, we settled for murder. After settling for murder, the Attorney General asked, where was that tipper going to? And I said he was going to a borrow pit. He said, did you try to find out where the borrow pit was? I said, well, I didn't consider it necessary, because if a vehicle took off from Onitsha going to Lagos and that Benin is involved in an accident, I didn't think it was necessary for me to go to Lagos to find out whether it was going to Lagos. However, because of the nature of this matter, I have a team ready to proceed to the scene to find out. And he said he would be obliged. And we moved. We went to the scene, went to the borrow pit, and discovered that the borrow pit was less than 1 kilometer to the scene of the accident. We now came back to the tipper park and recorded statements from both the tipper park operators and so on. And I called the Attorney General on phone and informed him, and he said it was splendid. I also told him, we have a problem. We now want to charge. We now want to charge the suspects to court. The meeting held on the 27th of June in the Attorney General chambers. We now want to charge the suspects to court on Thursday, 28th of June. And we discovered that the magistrate in Afuze court does not sit on that 28th, that is on Thursdays. The Attorney General said there was no problem. He was going to get in touch with the magistrate to be able to sit. And he did so, and the magistrate sat, and the suspects were arraigned, and they were accordingly remanded in prison custody. Immediately after the arraignment, the PDP National Publicity Secretary went on air and announced that PDP has been vindicated, that the people charged to court are not PDP people. And, you know, talked about it. The Attorney General got offended. Took a newspaper advertorial, which you find as document 3 in that appendix 3, and disparaged the police high command. He accused the police high command of leaking the report to the PDP people. The caption is, we are disappointed with police report. He even raised issues like the police did not investigate how many people that died in the accident, forgetting that the legal advisor to the Edo State Governor had done a letter stating how many people that died, forgetting that the hospital where the medical post-mortem reports were done and issued confirming that 3 people died belonged to the Edo State Government. Mr. Chairman, I want to say that this is the beginning of the frosty relationship between the police and the Attorney General's office. Notwithstanding, having settled the issue of the fatal accident, we now started looking at the investigation, moving from the scene to the suspects. Funke Oyerinde's phone, the wife of Oyerinde, the telephone hardware through forensic information opened up, and the police went in to service providers and through forensic analysis discovered one telephone that was using the number 08036555537. Police decoyed and called the number, and the guy repeatedly called back. We didn't pick. He now used another number to call the line with which we used in calling him. When we now picked and knew it was the same voice, we believed that same person owned the Etisalat number with which he called. So when we went for the call details, the registered call details, the 2 numbers gave the same person. And his name is Lawal Abubakar, resident in Reggio Lemo, in Fage area of Kano. On the 9th of June, operatives moved into Kano and raided the house of Abubakar Lawal, only to be told that he was arrested by Reggio Lemo police station and handed over to the Director of State Security in Kano. How did this happen? The Joint Task Force, together with some state security operatives, raided the house. The suspect scaled the fence and ran away. In the course of scaling the fence, he was injured, and the vigilante group of the area saw him with blood and arrested him and took him to the DPO of the police. Because the DPO did not know people who raided the place, or he couldn't fathom it, he took him to police headquarters. In the course of inquiry, they now discovered that the State Security Service knew something about it, and they quietly gave them to the State Security Service. When we got to know and the operatives returned back to Benin, we wrote a letter. That letter is document number 5 in Appendix 3, requesting that we have access to this suspect because what we are handling has implicated him. That letter was not replied. We continued our investigation. We did, sir. We continued our investigation. Luckily again, Olaitan's telephone, God willing, opened up again. The number of that Olaitan's telephone is 07037448616. Say that again, please. 07037448616. It was found to be in use. We tried to find out, that is the hardware, not the number, the telephone hardware. Because this my phone now, this BlackBerry phone, if I remove my SIM card from it and you take your own SIM card and put in it, it will show, it will clearly show this is the phone you are using, because the hardware has an IME number, and for people who do pinging, it has a pin, so you can easily get that detected. Now, further prying into this phone opening revealed that 2 telephone numbers were using the hardware. That is telephone number 07053914404 and 08039712838. While telephone number 07053914404 belonged to Mohammed Baba Yelwa of Wura Hausa Girei 2 in Adamawa State, the other number that ends with 838 belonged to Abubakar Raji of the same Girei in Adamawa. So, armed with this information, detectives moved to Adamawa on the 22nd of June 2012, and through diligent and committed surveillance, arrested Mohammed Baba Yelwa, and through Mohammed Baba Yelwa, arrested Abubakar Raji, in whose possession the deceased BlackBerry Bold 5 phone was recovered. It is in police custody, Olaitan's phone. It's been identified by the wife. It's also been identified by Adeyinka Oletubo, the brother-in-law who used to do pinging with him. That's how he knew the PIN number. The IME number has been confirmed. Everything is intact. Now, that brings us to question. Who sold the telephone to you? Mohammed Baba Yelwa told the police that one Idris Abdulhamid, a 24-year-old boy who lived in Benin with his parents at number 28 Iwehen Street until 2006, when the father went blind, that they are now relocated to Adamawa, that the boy hawks fairly used phones in Girei and in Adamawa, and that he was the one who brought the phone for him to buy, but that when he put his SIM card in the phone, there were a few messages that were coming to the phone that he was not too sure of, and he gave it back to him, and he now sold it to Abubakar Raji. So that one-day usage has registered. That is why his Glow SIM card was registered. But he said he has dreadlock. That man has dreadlock and stays in Lagos Street in the name of selling paint or so. But he is the one that sells cartridges to them. And they took us to the place, and we saw the man with dreadlock, and we arrested him. His name is Wilfred Isehihu, and he was identified as the person who sells cartridges to them. Arising from these confessions, Garuba Usman Maisamari was arrested from his house on the 28th of June. While Auta Umaru and Umaru Adamu were arrested in the early hours of 4th July 2012. Winifred Iseyohi was arrested on the 5th of July 2012. During a search in Garuba Usman Maisamari's house at number 11 Ezoba Street, up Sapoba Road, Benin City, the following items were recovered: 23 used SIM cards, which of different networks, which he confessed were SIM cards he had over a period of time been removing from these phones they rob and bring to him. A gold weighing scale, because when they snatch your gold and your jewelries, he will weigh it. It's from the weight he's going to pay the bad boys. And then a BlackBerry telephone, which belonged to just 1 minute, which belonged to High Chief Dr. Vincent Efada of number 11 Oremeji Street, Itire, Lagos. This chief, in his statement, revealed that he came to Benin when the president visited on official assignment on the 30th of June, and that while at the airport, he didn't know when they removed his phone and 200,000 he had in his pocket. That phone was recovered in Garuba Usman Maisamari's house, the innocent Nigerian. 6 assorted wristwatches were also recovered from there. Now, On the 10th of July, having made this progress, on the 10th of July, the Inspector General of Police visited Edo State preparatory to the election. And while the press were asking him, he said, we have made progress in this matter and we have 4 suspects in custody. That's what the Inspector General said. As at this date, Moses Asamo Okoro has not been arrested. Remember, 4 people went to rob in Olaitan's house. Moses Asamo Okoro has not been arrested. The IG told the world, we are making progress, we have 4 suspects in our custody. Papers published it. As God would have it, on the 11th of July, the next day, Moses was tracked to the house of his girlfriend, number 20 Wisdom Street, off Lucky Way, Benin City, while hiding in the girl's house. The interrogation of Moses yielded amazing results. Moses confessed to the armed robbery and murder of Comrade Olaitan Oyerinde, which he admittedly carried out with Danjuma Musa, Muritala Usman, and Auta Umaru. He named Garuba Usman Maisamari as the mastermind of the operation, as according to him, Maisamari had told them that an unnamed man brought the job and promised to pay 20 million on completion of the assignment. He also confessed that himself, Danjuma Musa, one of the suspects who went to Oyerinde, one Abubakar Mohammed, is not in this equation, Abubakar Mohammed, another one, and one Muritala, not Muritala Usman, another Muritala, surname unknown, on the 21st of May, killed one Alhaji Ismaila Aliu at number 21 2nd Ihombe Street. They stole his 2 handsets, which they sold for 4,500. So by the time they shared it, it didn't get to them 1,000 naira. Moses Asamo Okoro also confessed that sometime in 2010, he was part of the robbery gang that raided Aginibode police station, took away about 15 AK-47 rifles, and killed a police constable, woman constable who was on duty. He said some of the suspects have been arrested, charged to court, and they are in prison custody, while 2 particular ones have not been arrested. I will mention their names. He also startled investigators when he confessed that Omar Adamu Elias Duna, the one that gave them one of the locally made pistols they are using, enlisted his services and that of Danjuma Musa to kill Alhaji Badamasi Saleh, the leader of the Hausa community in Edo State, and his deputy, Saidu Dahiru, for a fee of 20,000 naira. And he has given them 2,500 to enable them purchase bullets for the operation. He confirmed that Auta Umaru wore a face cap on the night of the operation in Oyerinde's house on the 4th of May. Why did he wear a face cap? He usually wears a face cap because he has a, according to him, he said no good. So that means he has a bald head. Now, arising from Moses Asamo Okoro's confession, having had this, what do you do? All the suspects were now reinterrogated on the basis of the new disclosures. Garumba Usman Maisamari admitted that he was hired to execute the job for a fee of 20 million. He named one David, whom he described as not too tall, dark in complexion, get body small, and wears native dress always called old school. He also said that this David had already paid 200,000 naira, which he paid at Bob Uzwa Park area. Moses Asamo Okoro, Danjuma Musa, Muritala Usman, and Auta Umaru were interrogated. They confirmed that at a meeting with Garuba Usman Maisamari in a beer parlor around Owina Junction, Benin City, He, my Samari, told them that if the job was successful and the man is killed, they will be given 20 million naira. The trio of Danjuma Musa, Muritala Usman, and Auta Umaru stated that Moses Asamokoro insisted that he wants to meet the person to ensure that the money must be paid. And Garuba Usman, my Samari, called the man on phone and he spoke with Moses Asamokoro. We traced the beer parlor at Owina Junction. That beer parlor is called Somebody Parliament. It's called Somebody Parliament. The owner is one James Ahmadine. He identified Alta Umaru Ali as a customer who usually comes with some of his friends, Hausa people, to come and drink, and they usually stay till late in the night. Consequent upon this, Reverend David